Hey there. It's been like so long. How are you? Are you being honest with me? That's okay. In your own time. So, hey, we're here for a little while. Remember last time I had shared with you those 50 facts and one of them was false. That was fun, right? Did you have fun? Okay, yeah. Would you want to do another one? Because they posted a new one and it's for The Empire Strikes Back, one of the best Star Wars movies of all time. Don't even try with me. Don't try it. I know, I'm quoting Revenge of the Sith more than anything. But, would you be down? Awesome. I can't lie, I really enjoyed this with you. Us being together just it felt more complete. So, are you ready? Remember, 1 is false, 49 are true. Ready? This one is a little longer, I think. I don't know. Fact number 1. The Hoth exterior scenes were filmed during an actual blizzard in Finse, Norway, forcing the crew to shoot in near whiteout conditions. The crew arrives in Finse just as a severe snowstorm hit, with winds driving snow horizontally across the landscape. Visibility dropped so low that background detail often disappeared into pure white haze. Instead of waiting it out, the production filmed directly into the storm, capturing natural streaks of snow hitting the lens. This gave Hoth its harsh, wind-lashed realism that would have been nearly possible to fake. Fact 2. Some Hoth shots were filmed immediately outside the crew's hotel because of said snowstorm made travel impossible. Blizzard conditions frequently trapped the crew near lodging, forcing them to improvise filming locations. Cameras were set up just outside the hotel using the natural terrain and snowfall as part of the scene. Actors were filmed walking through real drifts forming in real time. These moments were seamlessly integrated into the final battle sequences. Imagine right behind the camera, Hilton in Marriott. I'm not going to the third place. A certain hotel from a New York businessman. Fact 4. The AT-AT models were built with articulated joints that resisted movement slightly to simulate weight. Each joint in the AT-AT legs was engineered to provide slight resistance when moved, rather than swinging freely. Animators had to apply deliberate pressure to reposition each step. This resistance translated into slower, more deliberate motion on screen. It helped settle the illusion that the walkers were heavy machines rather than lightweight models. That's enough AT-AT talk. Fact 5. Yoda was performed using a multi-operator puppet system hidden beneath the Dagobah set. Yoda's puppet was operated from below a raised set floor, with Frank Oz controlling the head, voice, and one arm, while other puppeteers handled additional movements. The performers worked in cramped, enclosed spaces rather than the set. Often unable to see each other directly, movements had to be perfectly timed to avoid unnatural motion. The coordination required was closer to live theater than mechanical puppetry. Fact 6. The Dagobah set was built with real water, mud, and decaying plant material to create a humid, organic environment. The set was intentionally damp and cluttered, filled with shallow pools of water, twisted roots, and decomposing vegetation. Fog machines were added constant moisture to the air, creating a hazy, sticky atmosphere. Surfaces were uneven and soft, making footings unstable for actors. The environment felt alive and slightly uncomfortable, which translated directly on screen. Fact 7. The Millennium Falcon asteroid chase used fast-moving, motion-controlled camera passes to simulate erratic flight. Cameras were programmed to move rapidly and unpredictably around miniature asteroid models. These movements were repeated precisely for multiple passes during compositing. The result is a chaotic visual rhythm with objects whipping past the frame. It gives the impression of a pilot reacting in real time to danger. Fact 8. Many asteroids in the chase sequence were made from painted potatoes chosen for their irregular shapes. Potatoes were selected because their natural surfaces already contain the uneven textures needed for convincing asteroids. They were painted and lit to emphasize craters and ridges. Under camera, their organic shapes read as believable space debris. It's a simple but effective example of using real-world objects for visual realism. Fact 10. The sound of the AT-AT footsteps combines a sharp snow crunch with a deep, delayed impact to emphasize scale. Each step begins with a brittle, high-frequency crunch as the snow compresses, followed by a heavy, low-frequency thud that lands slightly after. This delay creates the sensation of immense weight settling into the ground. The layered timing mimics how large objects move in reality. It makes the walkers feel slow, deliberate, and unstoppable. Okay. Do you think any of the first 10 were false? Could be. Could very well be. That might even be my guess, honestly. If I was telling you my answer. But I'm not. Some of those were crazy though, like genuinely. So, are you ready to lock in? Are you sure? We got 80% left here, so you got a good chance of it still being around. Okay, yeah, no, we can reserve that for later. It's at the end, so don't worry. Fact 11. Irvin Kershner deliberately pushed for more emotional performances, often asking actors to underplay scenes rather than exaggerate them. Kershner encouraged actors to treat scenes as intimate characters' moments rather than a broad space opera. He frequently asked for quieter deliveries, longer pauses, and more natural reactions. The approach is especially noticeable in the Luke Yoda training and Han Leia exchanges. The result is a film that feels more grounded and emotionally complex than its predecessor. Fact 12. The famous I love you. I know. Exchange was an on-set improvisation by Harrison Ford. The scripted line originally had Han replying, I love you too, but Ford felt it didn't match the character's personality. During filming, he delivered the now iconic, I know. Instead, the line was kept because it perfectly captured Han's confidence and emotional restraint. The moment feels spontaneous because, in a sense, it was. Fact 13. The reveal of Vader's identity was kept a secret by using a different line during filming. On set, Vader's line was spoken as Obi-Wan killed your father. To prevent leaks, only a small group knew the true dialogue. Hamill was informed shortly before filming the final version. This secrecy preserved genuine shock in performances and prevented the twist from becoming public. Fact 14. The carbonite freezing chamber set used intense backlighting and layered steam to create both depth and scale. Bright light sources were placed behind the chamber, shining through thick steam and smoke. This created a glowing silhouettes and shifting highlights across the set. The layered haze made the space feel larger than it physically was. The environment appears hot, industrial, and dangerous. Fact 15. Yoda's performance relied heavily on subtle eye and ear movement timed precisely with dialogue. Small movements like a blink, a slight ear tilt, or a shift in gaze were carefully synchronized with speech. These micro expressions gave Yoda emotional depth beyond the dialogue itself. Often, the movement would precede the line as if the thought formed before the words. This timing made the character feel more thoughtful and alive. Fact 16. The Cloud City interiors were designed with bright and reflective white surfaces to contrast the darker Imperial environments. Walls and floors in Cloud City were smooth and glossy, reflecting light softly across the space. This created a clean, almost utopian present appearance. The brightness contrasts sharply with the harsh, shadow-heavy interiors of Imperial ships. It visually reinforces the idea that Cloud City is a different kind of environment. Fact 17. The Falcon cockpit dialogue scenes were filmed with practical lighting that flickered in sync with on-screen action. Lights inside the cockpit were programmed to flash and shift as external events occurred. This included weapon fire, impacts, and nearby explosions. The changing light patterns played across the actor's face in real time. It helped ground performances without requiring post-production effects. Fact 18. The Star Destroyer bridge sets used forced perspective to make the space appear deeper than it physically was. Elements toward the back of the set were slightly smaller and placed closer together. This created the illusion of extended depth when viewed through the camera. Lighting further enhanced the effect by fading detail into the distance. The result is a bridge that feels vast despite physical space. Fact 19. The tauntaun puppets used for close-ups were built with internal mechanisms to simulate breathing and subtle head movements. Close-up models included internal systems that allowed the chest to rise and fall gently. Additional controls enabled slight head tilts and mouth movement. These motions were slow and deliberate, mimicking real animal behavior. The effect makes the creature feel alive even when standing still. Fact 20. The asteroid field sequence required hundreds of individual compositing passes to combine ships, debris, and background elements. Each element, Falcon, background, stars, and asteroids, was filmed separately and combined using optical compositing. Complex shots could involve dozens of layered passes. Each pass required precise alignment to avoid visual artifacts. The process was time-consuming, but also for dense, detailed imagery. You can't let me go on like this, Captain. Next time I'm around, I gotta grab some water before we do this. Deal? Fair enough. Alright, we're 20 facts through. That's 40% now. Do you have any inklings? There's a couple that sound completely false. But are they? Perhaps. Remember, I'll tell you at the end. For now, just relax, sit back, enjoy the facts, and keep an eye out for the one that might sound false. Fact 21. George Lucas financed much of the film himself, risking significant personal income after disagreements with studios. After the success of A New Hope, Lucas chose to fund Empire independently, using profits from merchandising and distribution deals. This gave him creative control, but placed financial pressure directly on him. Cost overruns during production, especially in effects, intensified that risk. The decision ultimately allowed the film to take darker narrative turns without studio interference. Fact 22. The Dagobah set required constant maintenance because real water and organic materials began decaying during filming. Because the set included real water, mud, and plant matter, it began to deteriorate over time. The water would stagnate, and organic materials produced odors and residue. Crew members had to regularly clean and replace sections to maintain continuity. The environment was physically unpleasant, contributing to the swamp's authenticity on screen. Fact 23. Mark Hamill performed many of his own physical actions in Hoth despite freezing conditions. Hamill worked in real snow and wind, often without the comfort of controlled studio conditions. His movements, struggling through drifts, reacting to wind, are genuine responses to the environment. The cold affected posture and pacing, making actions appear more labored. The physical realism carries through the performance. Fact 24. The AT-AT attack used layered miniatures. Miniature snow effects created from baking soda and other fine materials. Miniature snow was simulated using baking soda and similar granular substances spread across modular model landscapes. When, when disturbed, it produced a line powdery displacement that photographed convincingly. The material was chosen for its lightness and texture under studio lighting. It helped replicate the look of real snow at scale. Fact 25. The carbonite slab of Han Solo includes detailed impressions of clothing folds and facial features taken directly from a body cast. A mold was taken from Harrison Ford to capture accurate body contours. This included subtle details like fabric creases and facial tension. The final cast preserved these features, giving the slab a lifelike imprint. It feels less like a sculpture and more like a frozen moment. Fact 26. Irvin Kershner encouraged actors to overlap dialogue slightly to create more natural conversations. Unlike the more formal delivery in the first film, Kershner allowed actors to speak over one another in certain scenes. This created a sense of spontaneity and realism. Conversations between Han and Leia, in particular, feel less scripted and more reactive. This technique adds subtle authenticity to interactions. Fact 27. The Millennium Falcon asteroid chase required complex motion control rigs to repeat camera paths with exact precision. Motion control systems allowed cameras to follow identical paths across multiple passes. This precision was necessary to layer ships, asteroids, and lighting effects together. Even slight deviations would ruin the composite. The technology enabled far more complex shots than were possible in the previous film. Fact 28. The Wampa cave set was designed with irregular surfaces to catch light unevenly and create depth. The cave walls were sculpted with uneven ridges and indentations rather than smooth surfaces. Light would hit these surfaces at different angles, creating shifting highlights and shadows. This added visual texture without needing large-scale construction. The environment feels naturally carved rather than artificially built. Fact 29. Yoda's facial movements were controlled using a singular synchronized mechanism that linked eyes, eyelids, and mouth together. The puppet used one central control system that moved multiple facial features at the same time, helping maintain consistency during performance. As the mouth opened, the eyes and eyelids subtly shifted in coordination to match expressions. This created smooth, unified reactions without requiring separate operators for each feature. The streamlined design was considered important to Yoda's lifelike presence. Fact 30. The Star Destroyer miniatures were covered in dense surface detail using kit bashing techniques. Model makers attached parts from commercial kits such as tanks and aircrafts to the surface of the ships. These pieces created intricate paneling and mechanical detail. The density of these additions helped break up flat surfaces. Under lighting, the ships appear complex and massive. Alright, that's the first 30 facts. Do you think that we have passed the false fact yet? Are you positive about that? You don't have to be. Don't worry. But it could be, could not be. That is the question. Whether it is nobler. I don't know the whole Hamlet thing, but shout out. A lot of theater kids do. Fact 31. The Cloud City landing platform scenes used matte paintings to extend the environment far beyond the physical sets. Large painted backdrops were combined with live action footage to create the illusion of vast cityscapes. These paintings included distant structures and atmosphere haze. The transition between real set and painting is nearly seamless. It gives Cloud City a sense of scale without full construction. Fact 33. The lighting in the asteroid cave was designed to feel enclosed by reducing contrast and softening shadows. Inside the cave, lighting was diffused to eliminate harsh shadows. This created a softer, more contained look. The reduced contrast suggests limited space and reflected light. It helps distinguish the environment from open space scenes. The Hoth shield generator explosion was filmed using practical pyrotechnics, captured at high speeds. Explosions were filmed at higher frame rates, causing them to appear larger and slower when played back. This technique enhances perceived scale. Multiple layers were combined to add complexity. The final result feels massive and impactful. Fact 35. The sound of the Falcon's hyperdrive failure uses irregular mechanical rhythms to suggest malfunction. Instead of a smooth engine tone, the sound breaks into uneven pulses and sputters. These irregular rhythms imply stability and failure. Instability and failure. I'm not sure what I said. The sound feels unpredictable, mirroring the ship's condition. It communicates malfunction without visual explanation. Fact 36. The Cloud City corridors were built with repeating curved segments to create visual continuity. Corridor sections were reused and rearranged to create multiple locations. The consistent curved design made transitions seamless. Lighting variation helped distinguish areas. This approach maximized resources while maintaining visual coherence. Fact 37. The duel between Luke and Vader was rehearsed extensively to balance choreography with character, emotion, and yeah, that's it. The fight was designed not just as action, but as storytelling. Movements were adjusted to reflect emotional shifts. Vader controlled, Luke received. Rehearsals focused on pacing and positioning. The choreography evolves alongside the narrative tension. Fact 38. The Executor Superstar Destroyer miniature was significantly larger than standard Star Destroyer models. The Executor model was built at a larger scale to differentiate it visually. Its increased size allowed for more surface detail. When filmed, it appeared more imposing, even in brief shots. The difference reinforces its command role. Fact 39. The Dagobah cave sequence used minimal space combined with careful framing to create the illusion of depth. The physical set was relatively small, but camera angles were chosen to avoid revealing boundaries. Foreground elements were layered to create depth. Lighting helped obscure angles. The result feels larger than the actual space. And fact 40. The sound of the lightsaber duel was refined with sharper impact layers to increase intensity. In Empire, lightsaber clashes include additional high-frequency elements that create a sharper attack. The impact feels more aggressive and immediate. This change reflects the darker tone of the duel. The sound has a more dangerous edge. What do you think? Has the fact been said? Are you sure about that? No, I'm just kidding. I'll tell you at the end. Trust me. So, 10 more. Are you ready? Are you steady? Are you with me? Alright, let's do it. Fact 41. The Dagobah set requires raised floor with trenches underneath to allow puppeteers to operate Yoda unseen. The set was built above ground level, with hidden pits and trenches carved beneath it for puppeteers. Frank Oz and a team worked in these confined spaces, often crouched or lying down while operating the puppet above. This setup allowed Yoda to interact naturally with actors without revealing the mechanism. The physical strain on puppeteers added to the precision required for each performance. Fact 42. Irving Kershner insisted on multiple takes of emotional scenes to capture subtle variations in performance. Kershner often filmed numerous takes of dialogue-heavy scenes, focusing on small differences in timing and delivery. He would adjust pacing, eye contact, and pauses rather than large gestures. This method allowed him to fine-tune emotional beats in editing. The result is a more nuanced and layered performance across the film. Fact 43. The Hoth hangar interior was constructed with full-scale walls and ceilings to allow dynamic camera movement. Unlike many partial sets, the hangar included complete structural elements, including overhead sections. This allowed the camera to pan and track freely without revealing offset areas. The enclosed space also helped control lighting and atmosphere. It gave the base a more believable operational level. Operational feel, I don't know where I got level from. Fact 44. The snow speeders were filmed using miniatures suspended against blue screens with motion control rigs. Miniature speeders were mounted on rigs that allowed precise positioning and movements during filming. These rigs were later removed through compositing. Motion control ensured consistent movement across multiple passes. The result is smooth, believable fight through the snowy battlefield. Fact 44. The Tauntaun saddle and reins were designed with practical textures to appear worn and functional. The saddle included scuffs, stitching details, and layered materials to suggest long-term use. Leather-like textures were aged to avoid looking newly constructed. Small imperfections were intentionally added. These details help the creature feel integrated into the world rather than newly introduced. Fact 46. The Star Destroyer interiors were lit with strong overhead lighting to create sharp shadows in a rigid atmosphere. Bright directional lighting from above created defined shadows on actors and set surfaces. This emphasized the geometric structure of the environment. The lighting contributed to a controlled, authoritarian visual tone. It contrasts strongly with the softer lighting of Rebel and Dagobah scenes. Fact 47. The asteroid field sequence required careful planning to avoid visual clutter during compositing. Too many overlapping elements could make shots unreadable, so the team carefully staged asteroid placement. Depth and spacing were adjusted to maintain clarity. Each pass was designed with the final composite in mind. The balance allowed the sequence to feel dense without being chaotic. Fact 48. The Cloud City dining room set used large windows combined with matte paintings to simulate vast exterior views. The physical set included window frames, while the exterior views were added using painted backdrops. These paintings depicted clouds, distant structures, and atmospheric haze. Lighting was matched carefully to blend real and painted elements. The result creates the illusion of immense altitude and scale. Fact 49. The Wampa's Cave was filmed with limited visibility to hide the full creature's design and enhance tension. The creature is rarely shown in full, with lighting and framing obscuring details. This approach reduces the need for extensive effects while increasing suspense. Shadows and partial reveals keep the audience uncertain. The technique makes the Wampa feel more threatening. Final fact, fact 50. The Millennium Falcon miniature was modified with additional surface details for closer shots in Empire. Extra paneling, wiring, and surface elements were added to the Falcon model to enhance detail under close lighting. These additions helped maintain realism during tighter camera passes. The increased complexity allowed for more dynamic lighting effects. The ship appears more textured and worn. With that out of the way, do you have any guess, or would you like to guess? Okay, I can see why you say that. And hey, if you guessed fact 29, you were right. Here's the real version of fact 29. Yoda's facial movements were controlled using internal mechanisms that allowed independent motion of eyes, eyelids, and mouth. The puppet contained separate controls for different facial components, allowing layered expression. Eyes could shift while the mouth moved independently, creating nuanced reactions. Blinking and slight eyelid adjustments added subtle emotion. This complexity is key to Yoda's believability. Alright, that is all 50. What time is it? Oh my gosh. Yo, that felt like nothing at all. Okay, so level with me. What did you think of the article? Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I had fun. I felt like it was pretty chill. Am I onto something there? Yeah. Well, okay, perfect. Since it's so late, would you like to go with me to grab some food? Okay. I mean, I can grab you something if you don't want to go. It's no big deal, I got you. Alright, we can do that. Ready?